The silent layoff. Laid off by AI, the shocking truth. Behind the tech revolution. Nobody wants you to know they lied to you. Not about the power of AI. About what AI was actually going to do to the people who build everything you use online every single day. The apps on your phone, the systems that process your salary, the platforms connecting you to the world. Every single one built by human beings who spent years mastering one of the most demanding crafts in history. And in 2023, the most powerful companies on the planet decided those human beings were no longer necessary. What followed was not a revolution, it was a catastrophe. And the people responsible are doing everything in their power to make sure you never fully understand what they did. This is that story. Picture someone you know personally, someone who stayed up until 3 in the morning debugging systems thousands of people depended on, who solved problems so complex that most people in their company could not even fully describe what those problems were. Someone who took genuine pride in what they built. Now picture that person sitting at home on a Tuesday afternoon. Laptop open, LinkedIn updated, phone completely silent, wondering what they did wrong. They did nothing wrong. They were caught in the most expensive miscalculation in the history of the technology industry. And the people who made that miscalculation are still collecting their bonuses. It did not happen gradually. It happened like a detonation. AI tools could generate working code from a simple text prompt. They could debug software in seconds. They could produce in minutes what previously took teams of engineers weeks to complete. The boardrooms went wild, and the narrative spread like a virus through every executive suite in Silicon Valley. Why pay a developer $150,000 a year when AI does the same job in seconds for pennies? It was the most seductive idea in the history of business, and it was built on a foundation of sand. What followed was a bloodbath dressed up as innovation. 152,000 technology workers lost their jobs in 2024. Not in a recession, not in a market crash, in one of the most profitable years in Silicon Valley history. A major semiconductor giant cut thousands. A global tech corporation followed. Wave after wave of companies did the same. And every single one used identical language to describe what they were doing. Realigning for an AI-centric future. Behind that carefully constructed language was a decision being made by people who had never written a single line of code in their lives. And those people were about to learn the most expensive lesson in tech history. Here is what writing software actually is. Not what the demo made it look like. What it actually is. It is the ability to hold an entire invisible world inside your mind simultaneously. To understand that a single decision made quietly in one corner of a system today will detonate in a completely different corner 6 months from now. It is not typing. It is thinking at a level that took years of failure and recovery to develop. And when corporations decided to replace that with a chatbot, they did not save money. They started a countdown. Engineers started calling it the slop layer. Code sitting inside production systems all over the world. Code that functions on the surface. Code that passes every test and ships on schedule. Code that nobody truly understands. Code that cannot be fixed when it breaks because the logic behind it was never fully understood in the first place. A leading software research firm analyzed 10 billion lines of code generated by artificial intelligence, and what they found stopped people mid-sentence in engineering meetings across the planet. To repair the damage already done would require 61 billion workdays. The meter is still running. Every day, more code generated by artificial intelligence ships into production. And every day, the debt compounds silently inside systems millions of people depend on. But the debt was only the beginning. While engineers were drowning in unfixable code, something else was happening that destroyed the entire productivity argument. The developers who kept their jobs were getting slower. Not slightly slower. They were 19% slower when using artificial intelligence tools than when working without them. Because they had become something nobody in any boardroom had planned for. Artificial intelligence babysitters. They were spending 11 hours every single week not building software, not solving problems. Hunting. Hunting through mountains of code generated by artificial intelligence that looked correct on the surface, but contained landmines buried deep enough that only a senior engineer could find them before they exploded in production. Artificial intelligence was not a colleague. It was a liability, requiring constant expert supervision. Then the security verdict arrived. A major cybersecurity research group analyzed millions of lines of AI-generated code, and the findings were not a warning shot. They were a verdict. 45% of all AI-generated code contained critical security vulnerabilities, not minor issues. Critical vulnerabilities, the kind that expose financial systems, the kind that compromise user data, the kind that bring companies to their knees. In Java alone, the failure rate exceeded 72%. Nearly 3/4 of all AI-generated Java code was fundamentally broken from a security standpoint. The companies that dismissed their most experienced engineers to make room for the AI revolution were now staring at a liability that dwarfed every dollar they thought they had saved. The shortcut had become the most expensive road they had ever traveled. Then came the scandal that exposed something darker than failure. A billion-dollar AI startup had raised $1.5 billion on a single promise: fully autonomous artificial intelligence development. No human engineers required, ever. When the company collapsed, court filings revealed the truth. Behind the AI interface were 700 human engineers, manually completing every single task marketed to customers as artificial intelligence. There was no AI doing the work. There were people, invisible people, exhausted people, people whose entire existence the company had built a billion-dollar brand around hiding. They built a sweatshop, and when the money ran out to pay the humans, the AI died instantly, because it had never existed. But even that was not the moment that broke everything. That moment came quietly. A developer gave an AI assistant one simple instruction: clear the project cache. The AI misread a configuration flag, and without pausing, without asking, without a single moment of uncertainty, it deleted everything. 2 terabytes of production data gone in seconds, months of work, irretrievable. And in the silence that followed, the industry was forced to confront the truth it had been running from since the beginning. AI has no accountability. It cannot be held responsible. It cannot feel the weight of what it destroyed. It cannot look a team in the eye and own what it caused. Only humans can do that. Only humans carry that weight. And that weight is not a weakness. It is the entire point. Leading university researchers called what happened next the junior death spiral. Companies convinced AI could handle entry-level tasks and stopped hiring junior engineers entirely. Junior hiring collapsed by 50% between 2023 and 2025. An entire generation locked out before they could even begin. And here is why that matters more than any other statistic in this story. Every senior engineer alive today was once a junior. Every architect who builds systems serving millions of users learned by writing the simple code AI is now generating instead. Remove that pipeline, and you do not just lose junior developers today, you guarantee the senior engineers you desperately need will not exist in 5 years. The industry did not just lay people off, it amputated its own future. And then corporations discovered something unexpected: leverage. The flooded job market handed management a weapon they had not held in over a decade. Salary negotiations began sounding like this: we recognize we need human oversight for architecture, but since AI handles a significant portion of the workload, we cannot justify the salaries we offered 3 years ago. It is a lie dressed up as logic. AI is not handling a significant portion of the workload. It is creating 11 hours of additional cleanup work per engineer per week. But the engineers being told this story have no power to push back, because 50 of them are competing for every open role. And management knows exactly what that means. So here is where we actually stand. Not where the press releases say we stand, where the evidence places us. AI did not replace developers. It replaced the illusion that software development is a mechanical process that can be handed to a machine and forgotten about. Top technology research scientists found that despite $40 billion in global investment, 95% of AI pilots in the enterprise sector failed to deliver a single dollar of measurable return. Not below expectations. 0. The companies thriving today are not the ones that replaced their engineers with AI. They are the ones that recognized the truth before it was too late. That the engineers they were trying to replace were not a cost to be eliminated. They were the entire product. Free. AI-generated code turned out to be the most expensive debt in the history of the technology industry. And the engineers who were told they were finished are the only ones who know how to pay it back. The prophecy was wrong. The machine did not win. But the wreckage left behind while the industry chased that prophecy is real. 152,000 careers interrupted. A generation locked out before they could begin. Billions in technical debt buried inside the systems powering the world. And the people responsible have already moved on to the next big prediction, the next revolution, the next thing that is going to change everything. While the engineers they discarded are still sitting at home, laptop open, wondering what they did wrong. They did nothing wrong. The industry failed them. And until the people running that industry are willing to say those words out loud, the countdown that started the day they sent the engineers home will keep running. The meter is still running. Remember that.